So there was it's showing a back
I
four
don't know.
on Flash Score. So I'm assuming it was a back four. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Black 4?
Yeah, I said black four.
Is that what you said?
I know. I apologize sincerely. Yo, and welcome back to the Banter Boys podcast. My name is Sanji. With me is Ross. How you doing, boy?
Welcome. Happy to be back after missing last episode. I am good, Saji. I have been getting some crazy fantasy luck. I don't understand. My NFL team, one of my OG leagues, I'm undefeated. My NFL league, I had 50 points on the last day after being down by 60 or something, or after being down by 45, I got 50 points on the last day, and I was like, whoa, this is unprecedented.
Who saved your ass?
Aaron Jones.
Go Pack, go!
Exactly, yeah. So I'm just enjoying my fantasy luck as it kind of comes through,
So how many different fantasy games are you playing right now?
3. And then at work, we might do a NFL fantasy pool. It's guess the fixture, like we used to do kind of on our thing. Whoever has the most points at the end of the season kind of takes the pot.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay. Four is manageable, I've got so many that I actually have a checklist to go through every week now.
NBA hasn't started yet, so I don't know if it'll change because of that, so...
Ooh, man. If I play NBA this season, I'm going to be super casual.
Yeah. It's okay.
Let's see, though.
I'm super casual in my NFL league, and I'm 2-0, so...
Maybe that's the way to play fantasy, Don't give a shit, and you actually do better.
Exactly. Don't overthink it.
Exactly. I got my school timetable, by the way.
Nice. When do you start officially?
Sorry, I had to crack my beer open. I got really stressed when we started talking about school. I basically start next week. So, because I'm still on Trinidad time zone, I'm probably going to have to get up at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. just to be online for the lectures and stuff. Not looking forward to that adjustment at all.
How long have you been out from school from?
When was I in school? 2018, 2019 was when I was in Leeds. So yeah, 4 years. I can't do math, so. No! Call! I gotta hang this up. Are we gonna leave that in the recording? Probably will, won't we?
I don't know. Depends on who's editing. Depending how well it flows.
Yeah, sorry, my sister was calling. I feel like I should take that, shouldn't I? It's okay. I'll call her later.
Call her later.
But I mean, it kind of helps that, there's IPL going on right now and there's games at 6 a.m. So if I'm up and the class is boring, I could always look at IPL. I don't know. But I'm super excited for school again. Not going to lie.
Yeah, that's good.
Are you watching any IPL, by the way? Crickets at all?
I don't watch IPL. It's a moral thing for me to not watch IPL.
Would you mind getting into why this is a moral thing?
I think it's kind of how it's transformed the game of cricket into a more kind of commercial entity. All these players are probably really talented, and I have nothing against the players themselves. I just have a thing against the IPL and what it's done to cricket.
Okay.
Ads every minute, this advertisement for this power play, there's a brand in front of everything, in front of every award, in front of every event, there's a brand in front of any, and I think IPL is kind of made the game super commercialized, super elite in some sort of ways. So,
So you don't watch PSL either?
Not really, no.
Okay.
Yeah, these T20 leagues that, I get, Big Bash. The Big Bash was something. Big Bash was, a good way to kind of, bridge the game between, an entertaining forum. But, these up-and-coming leagues have really kind of, upped it to, how can we make the most money at the sake of the purity of the game?
Okay, all right.
Traditional. I'm a pretty traditional person.
It sounds so. By the way, did you hear about Kohli retiring from captaincies of various teams and stuff like that? He's gonna step down after the T20 World Cup.
I thought he was like, said he's gonna play for RCB his entire kind of IPL career or something.
So I think he's gonna play for RCB, but I think he's gonna step down as the captain after this IPL season. I mean, he's playing like absolute shit anyways. So I mean, RCB on a whole played like real garbage. The game that just went by. But there was a really amazing game that I just want to shout out about was Punjab Kings versus Rajasthan Royals. Like they needed, I think they had like to score 10 runs in like 15 balls. It was like attainable. Then it came down to like the last over. They needed like 4 runs, and this 20-year-old kid Tyagi ends up getting 2 wickets and only goes for 1 run. And Royals recover the game. Yeah, it was a hell of a finish. Just wanted to kind of mention that. But, let's continue with a little more banter. So to kind of go back to what we discussed on our WhatsApp group, the Chelsea and Liverpool start. Not bad, eh?
Yeah. Identical to the point, right? Same goals, same results, same number of goals, same number of goals conceded. Top of the table, the only reason Chelsea is top is the same way Arsenal's the top before the start of every season. Alphabetically.
Oh yeah, all the results were the same. So yeah, it really is alphabetically. Wow.
Yeah. Because I think Amar and I were talking about he goes like top of the league. I'm like, you're not really top of the league. If they end the Premier League season tomorrow, then they're gonna share the trophy. It's not gonna be like Chelsea wins because their name starts with C and it's higher. It's first in the alphabet.
C. Not bad, eh? Life's pretty good. Yeah, being at the top.
Yeah. It's been a good season so far. A lot better than what I thought would have been. The only thing is Chelsea have had a much tougher run of games, right?
Yeah.
Arsenal, Liverpool, and Spurs play Man City this weekend. Something like that, or next weekend?
I think so. Wait, who are we talking about? Which team in particular?
Chelsea.
We play...
Chelsea play Man City this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. Yeah. Sorry, I'm a bit of a mess right now. The packing and getting arranged, and there's too much going on in my mind these days. By the way, we didn't get a chat post Champions League as well. How did you like that 3-2 victory over AC Milan? Did you end up watching that game?
I did watch that game, and to be honest, it was a great game. Great for like a neutral perspective. I was at no point worried about, even when we went down 2-1, I was like, with the way Liverpool playing, they're gonna score. It's gonna happen. They're gonna score. They created 15 chances in the first half, right? And they kind of just, as soon as they came back from the half, kept up the same way. I'm pretty sure that's what Klopp said to them. Be like, stay focused, you're gonna score, right? 2 lapses, you concede 2 goals. Just don't do any more lapses and you're not gonna concede any more goals.
Yeah.
So
sounds fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
We should talk a little bit about the EFL Cup as well. You guys played Norwich yesterday. Did you happen to catch any of that or what went on in that game? You guys played a second, like your B team, basically.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I know Hendo came on for a bit. I know Joe Gomez was captain. Kind of tells you what's, if Joe Gomez is captain, kind of tells you who has really kind of played during the game. So, Minamino started, Origi started, Keita Gordon started. We had Bradley as one of the fullbacks. I didn't get a chance to see the game, but I heard, it was a good watch. Chucky played well, Origi played well, Joe Gomez played well, and Curtis Jones played well. So, yeah, that's, good signs.
Yeah. And we went down to penalties versus Villa. We should mention, we still have to do all our plugs and stuff, but we're recording right after the AFL games on Wednesday afternoon, around 5:30 p.m. EST time zone. But yeah, I watched most of the game. I missed the first 15 minutes and then was basically juggling errands on the edge of both halves. We played okay. Mount came on as a halftime substitute for Kante. We had to bring on Big Rom to try and save it. But yeah, it ended up going to penalty shootout. I'm a little concerned though. Chilwell missed his penalty. Like, he did play the full 90 minutes, but that cannot be good for his confidence, especially after all that news. Like, Tuchel was saying how he isn't, like, mentally there completely after the Euros, etc. So I really feel it for the guy.
Yeah, sucks. That definitely sucks for him. Right?
Yeah, really does. There's like a bunch of Premier League clubs. Like, we can just quickly mention it before we get into like the meat of the pod. So like Arsenal went through the cup. I remember ESR got a goal in this one. For us, James got an assist for a Timo goal. Believe it or not, Timo Werner actually scored a goal with his head as well. Maybe he just needs to use his head more. West Ham beat Manchester United.
Got revenge.
Yeah, the perfect kind of revenge for sure. Leicester won as well. Ademola Lookman scored. Johnny Evans got 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So positive signs there. Unfortunately, Spurs beat Wolves 3-2. Well, I mean 3-2 because 2-2 went to penalties and they show it as like a 3-2 on flash score and all that sort of jazz. But Podence got a goal. Ait Nouri got an assist.
Yeah.
Right? Harry Kane scores as usual. Ndombele got a goal as well. For Brighton.
He's back in the rotation? For Tottenham again?
I guess so. Yeah. Man, he looked good against us. He looked really good, especially in that first half. So definitely worth like a shout as a asset, like especially when we're so slim for midfielders this season. Brentford smashed aside Oldham like 7-0. I think Matthias Jensen got like 90 minutes in that game, captained the side as well. But yeah, back to Brighton. Lamptey got 45 minutes in this, so that was really positive to see. And Gross came on as a substitute, right? So both players are fit. Dan Burns started as well.
Yeah.
Jay Rodriguez scored 4 goals against Rochdale. I mean, if potentially an asset, right? If Ashley Barnes and co aren't scoring. Leeds didn't have most of their main boys, but they got through. Man City started all of their prime attackers, Foden, Mahrez, Sterling, KDB, all of them getting in on the action versus Wycombe.
Yeah.
Like Ross discussed about the Liverpool 3 Norwich 0 game. Everton lost on, I want to say, penalty shootout, but Andros Townsend got a goal and assist. So Andros Townsend owners, you should be really, really happy, right? Especially since they're missing all of their key players. And Ross, James finally got transferred. So now, do you believe me?
Yeah. I dropped him a while ago. It's okay. Once that Instagram thing got dropped, that he removed Everton from his Instagram bio, I was like, yeah, now it's game over.
Yeah. And lastly, the final team I want to touch on is Southampton winning 3-2 away. One of my league opponents was at that cup game, actually.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah,
Good for him.
I know.
Good for
Lucky
them.
guy. Apparently, Salisu got his first goal for Southampton as well. And he's been putting up some decent points for Southampton recently. Like ghosties as well. Okay, so I think, Ross, before we get started, do you want to maybe plug the socials? This is the latest I feel like we've plugged socials on the pod.
I was just going to say like 15 minutes in. So you can message us on Twitter and Instagram. Our handle is @BantaB. You can catch us on Discord at the DraftPL channel. Our username is BantaBoys, #6585. On Reddit, you can message us. Our username is u/Banta_boys. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, and many more, all under the name of Banta Boys.
Awesome. So, just a quick breakdown of how this episode is going to go. In the first half, we're going to do our regular data dump. We will review how we've done in our leagues, any moves that we made or trades as well. And then round things off with our Twitter questions from our awesome listeners and fans. And then in the second half, we're going to do an injury update and suggest some awesome FA and waiver picks to help you win your game week 6 matchups. All right, shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Ay. Fantasy with the Banta Boys.
Okay, so the data dump. Looking at key passes. So the top tier is 5 key passes. There is a 2-way tie between Luke Shaw and Douglas Luiz of Aston Villa. Then the next tier is 4 key passes. Almiron, Marcus Alonso, Harvey Barnes, Andros Townsend, Trossard, and Tsimikas. Then we look at shots and how many of those were on target. I mean, surprise, surprise, Ronaldo attempted 7 shots, which was the highest of this game week that went by, 5 of them being on target. The next tier was 6 shots attempted, and that is by Mo Salah. He had 5 of them on target. And finally, those players that attempted 5 shots in total are Rafinha, who had 3 of them on target, Matthias Cleek, who had 4 of them on target, Alan Saint-Maximin, who had 4 of them on target, Ismail Assar, who had 5 of them on target, which is basically like 100% shot accuracy from him, right? Which is pretty impressive for 5 shots attempted. But, I mean, he was playing Norwich, so go figure.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last player was Tielemans, who attempted 5 shots, but he had 0 of them on target.
No points there.
None at all. And then we look at accurate crosses into the box. The highest number was 4 by Dwight McNeil and Tsimikas. Then 3 was by Matty Target. And then the final tier we look at is 2 accurate crosses into the box made by Jordan Henderson, Reguilon, Adama Traore, I'm assuming. I should have clarified that. We'll pretend like it's Adama because he hit a bunch of crosses in that last game that just went by. And Trossard also had 2 accurate crosses into the box. Do you have any thoughts or comments on some of these numbers?
The Rafinha, the 3 shots on target, one of them wasn't technically a shot anyways. His goal, it was like a cross. It was a cross.
That was basically a cross.
That went into the goal.
I don't think I don't think that got registered as a shot at all. I would hope not.
But it went in though, so wouldn't it be? It was on target.
No, I think it would just be a cross. But it wouldn't be an accurate cross. I think he just got the goal sort of thing.
Oh, weird.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm assuming that. We'd have to look into it deeper. But we don't get paid for that, so fuck it.
But yeah, no. And then Henderson's propping up with he does that often, right? The crosses and stuff, so even with Reguilon, I think people were shitting on him at the start of the season on like he's actually pretty garbage. And I'm like, no, he's actually, if you watch him play, he plays really well. It's just that like new system now, I think Nuno knows how to use his fullbacks a lot better. I think so. So now I'm thinking back then when Reguilon was playing under Mourinho, it was like defend. And now under Nuno, it's like, go forward, attack, be part of the play. So I'm happy with that as an owner.
So Arsenal's doing this thing where Tomiyasu sits deep and Tierney just bombs forward. So I wonder if that's the same case with Emerson Royale sitting deep and Reguilon bombing forward sort of thing.
Yeah. And like, I guess last time it was Aurier who would bomb forward and Reguilon would stay back. So maybe it's kind of flipped that way too, right?
Yeah. Matthias Cleek has definitely stepped up as an asset this season though. Like, I feel like last season he was real trash.
Yeah, but like overall, Leeds haven't been playing that well.
Yeah, they really haven't. Like, Bamford looks super isolated and stuff.
Yeah, and like they're not super good. Like they still don't have a win yet. They have like you thought they'd be able to kind of get one against Newcastle, but I guess not. Even without Callum Wilson.
Rafinha real wasted that match, yo.
Yeah. So let's see kind of what happens.
Yeah, and I'm assuming Tsimikas is up there because of him being on corners.
Yeah, apparently what I was reading was that he's got quite the cross on him from a corner. Like dead ball situations. Like, I didn't see the full match against Crystal Palace or the Norwich game, but I read that like he's, as good of a corner taker as Trent. So
yeah, and I think Tsimikas got an assist against Norwich in that cup game as well.
Yeah, he did. The Origi goal.
Yeah. And Douglas Luiz, I wonder if he's getting more key passes because of the change on formation that Villa have now. Like the 5-3-2.
I looked at his points though. His points from last game were pretty good, but like his points before
were a little grim. Yeah.
Yeah, like 3 points, 5 points. Nothing too exciting, so take that with a grain of salt,
Yeah, and I mean, Shaw got key passes because he basically took all the corners from United, like both sides. And the final thing I want to kind of ask you about is that now that Harvey Elliott is out injured, do you think Jordan Henderson is like a proper pick this season?
I think he's always been a proper pick. It's just that he starts off the season pretty slow. Like, he does get pretty involved in the attack, and like he definitely has a Premier League goal coming. And I was gonna talk about that when we talk about like kind of player picks. Even with Thiago injured now, so we might see him kind of press a bit forward as well. So like, because I think Nabi Keita is also injured and Thiago's also injured. So I think Curtis Jones might come in as that third midfielder, or even James the GOAT.
Fam, why is everyone getting injured at your club?
I don't know. Like, you know.
Y'all need to eat some cassava, bro.
that's what it is. Cassava.
All right. So now I think we can move on to our like league review and just catch up how we've done. So Ross, why don't you start us off? How are your leagues going?
In my OG league, I won because I won with 80 points. I ended up with 80 points and I was up against the person who had 67. So I got super, super lucky. This is what I was kind of talking about. My fantasy luck is just kind of, you know, everywhere and anywhere. So
did you play the lottery? You said you were going to go pick some numbers.
Not yet. I'm just going to, you know, go like 5, 8, 22, 45, you know.
16.
52.
Hut.
So, yeah, I went up. I'm 5-0 in that league. I'm still undefeated alongside Daniel, who has way more points for than me. So he's first. I'm second on also 5-0. So, you know, good start of the league in that one. In the Banter Boys, I lost to Soraya pretty bad.
Bro. You didn't lose. Hold on. You got thrashed.
Yeah, I got thrashed. I mean, at one point, I was like, I'm not even gonna bother making any kind of like drops and picks because I'm just like, I've lost this game. I'm not gonna like lose a player because I'm like trying to win and stuff too. Like I had 67. I had like half my team had played and I had like 30 points or something, 35 points or something.
Holy shit.
I'm not gonna bother. Sorry, I had already kind of like been like, you know, over 90 points at that point. So I was like, I'll write it off. I'm not gonna drop anyone. You know, so yeah, and I'm still second in that league because of my points for. So I am 3-2.
At least you lost to another Liverpool fan, you know. That makes it better.
Yeah. First is Alex, who's 5-0, and no, not Alex.
No, I think it's
Ryan,
Achim.
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan Achim.
Ryan,
Yo, you gotta correct
that. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Versus another Liverpool fan. I can't disrespect him. So, first is Ryan Achim. I remember, like, you know, I lost to Soraya, and then Ryan, our co-host Ryan, he was like, "Oh, where's the champ now?" Because my fantasy name is The Champ Is Here, and I was like, "I'm still higher than you," and he was like, "Shit, yeah, sorry."
That was really funny.
Shut him up pretty quick.
Real quick.
Yeah, but yeah, I know that those are my leagues.
Yeah, okay, good, man. That's very. I'm happy to hear that you're undefeated in OG League, though. Let's see how long you can like push that for.
Yeah. Let's see.
Wait. Have you faced? So no, obviously you haven't faced Daniel yet. Do you know when you're facing him?
In game week 8, so 3 game weeks from now.
Okay, it would be crazy if you guys are both undefeated up to that point.
That's what he said. He was like, "Bro, like I hope we're still undefeated." And then we'll see kind of who takes it. I'm like, bro, let's, you know. And then he goes like, "Bro, imagine if we're both undefeated and that match ends in a draw." You know? And I was like, pure Chelsea Liverpool style right now.
Yeah, you guys should basically bench all of your players, you know? Just throw the game on purpose. That way your points against isn't even affected, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do a quick recap of how the Banter Boys team is doing in the community leagues. So I had a bit of a squeaky bum time win, man. I honestly gave up in like both of my leagues because I benched Ivan Toney in both of them. Ooh. Which was basically 31.5 points. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna win. Like I was down by like 80 something going into like the Sunday, etc. And yeah, I just was like, yeah, I'm definitely not gonna win. And I ended up winning like 116.25 to 115.5 because of one Tony Rudiger. Oof. Can you imagine? That last second goal won me my match basically. Because I had like Mason Mount who went off early as well, and like my opponent was like, yeah, this win is like in the bag. So it's not over till it's over, man.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I definitely got super, super lucky because of that. But I don't know though, like, because if I look at like some of the moves that I made, like, I remember I had wavered in Almiron for Saul Niguez, but I then ended up dropping him after I saw Jordan Henderson score the winner in the Champions League, right? I was like, oh, this guy's definitely like, when you see a player score a goal, it brings confidence and it brings form and all that. And with all the Harvey news, and I was just like, maybe Henderson's going to get a run of games now. And I mean, that upgrade was like, I think Almiron got 7 points that game week and Henderson got 11 with the yellow card. So maybe in like an inspired move and brought about the win,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I also wavered in Ramsdale for Jose Sa for $8. You think that's a good move?
I think Ramsdale's number 1 right now. Especially seeing Leno playing the cup game. And Ramsdale started last 2 games and he's picked up clean sheets in both. So, causation or correlation, I don't know.
Yeah. And apparently he has better distribution from the back than Leno. That's what some of my Arsenal contacts are saying, at least. I got my first win in the Champions Cup. I don't know if you know what the Champions Cup thingy is.
I don't think so.
So I'll quickly break it down. So basically in the Com League, there's various leagues called like the Traore League, the Mahrez League, that sort of thing, right? So what they've kind of done is they've now faced you up, not against people in your own league, but people in other leagues. So you could potentially have the same player in that case, right? So they've kind of made it like a Champions League format. So they give you like home and away fixtures, and I think the top 2 from groups of 6 kind of make it. So I got my first win in that as well. So one win, 1 loss. I'm 4th out of 6, so still a while to go, but hopefully we progress through the Champions Cup as well. And to move on to the International Genie League, in the Sunday League, I had my first loss, but I kind of deserved it. I benched Tony and I benched Thiago Silva.
Yeah, then you kind of do. I mean, you would have ended up with like 160 points or something?
Yeah.
170 points if you played both?
Yeah, basically, yeah. But I'm not upset. I'm still first in the league. 4 teams are tied for first, but I've got like highest points for by like, I think 80 something or 90 something points. Like I'm the only person to cross 600 in that one. And
this is the one where you're going for promotion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the moves that I made for this one, like my most recent waiver, I brought in Jordan Henderson, same guy we were talking about. But I dropped Lucas Moura because of the whole ankle issue, and now Son is back. So I'm hoping maybe that's a better move, because it was either I dropped Moura or I dropped Moutinho.
Ooh, yeah, I guess Moutinho is a more nailed on starter, right?
And he's got set pieces and stuff, right?
Exactly, so...
Yeah. Okay. So quick update on the perfect 11 as well. We've moved from 23rd to the 20th position. A couple shout outs to Rafinha, Salah, Tsimikas, and Mount even. Yeah, we had Mount for 3 points and we ended up getting 171.75 points.
Nice.
So the last thing I wanted to talk about in this section is a trade that I got offered. And I wanted your thoughts on it, Russ. So the other manager wants Ivan Toney from me, and he's willing to give me Conor Gallagher and Matty Cash. Would you take that trade?
That's a good trade. Are you looking for midfielders or defenders?
I am, actually. Midfielders, especially.
Who are your forwards right now?
So in that league, let me pull it up quickly. Pull it up.
Is that the Lukaku one?
Yeah, that is the Lukaku one. I've got Lukaku, Ismail Sarr, Ivan Toney, and Raul Jimenez in that one.
I mean, Conor Gallagher's playing really, really, really well.
Yeah.
And Matty Cash is getting points regardless of Aston Villa conceding goals or not.
But the thing is, like, my squad is deep enough that I don't really need that extra defender. So I'm thinking to kind of just send back a trade, maybe Raul Jimenez for Conor Gallagher alone. Do you think that's fair?
I don't know. I feel like Jimenez has a much larger upside than Conor Gallagher. But actually, I don't know. Because Conor Gallagher gets like 2 assists every game whenever Crystal Palace score. So...
my only worry is that Edouard hasn't been put into the squad and Elise hasn't been put into the squad. Like, do they take away from him, or do you think maybe his potential increases?
I think his potential increases because he's plays a bit deeper, right? So maybe it is about playing them in more. So especially if you got natural finishers like Edouard, right? So I don't know. That's a good trade. But I guess it's just a matter of what you're looking for and what you're giving up, right? If you need midfielders, but you don't need a defender, then like try to see if you can just get that midfielder trade done.
Yeah. Okay. I might send something back to him then. Yeah. What's up?
But it is a Crystal Palace player. Take that with a grain of salt.
So yeah, I know we made our predictions and all that sort of stuff. I'm gonna sound like a real shitty person, but Crystal Palace playing good football, man. I feel like I have to change my prediction.
They are. I don't know. I'm so iffy on it, right? Like they are playing good football. Like who they go up against that they scored like 3-4 goals the game before Liverpool, right?
Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, exactly, right. But that went up against like 10 men, and they scored the 3 goals after the red card.
Yeah, but I mean, even though they lost 3-0 to you guys, they still kind of played well at one point.
Yeah, that's what I was reading, that like it was a pretty tough game. It's Crystal Palace. I guess they know how to frustrate, and like Patrick Vieira is, I don't know if he's accomplished coach. I think his only other big job was like New York Red Bulls or New York FC or something.
Yeah, it was the New York Man City team or whatever, right?
Man City, yeah. So New York FC. So I don't know. It is a Crystal Palace. I think that's a big grain of salt.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to think about that one because I definitely feel like I need midfielders in that team, right? Because right now my midfielders are João Moutinho, Jordan Henderson, Matt Ritchie, Andros Townsend, and James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, apart from James Ward-Prowse, the rest of your midfielders, like Henderson, can be an injury risk at times and fitness issues, right? While Moutinho, same sort of idea. Like even today, the Dunker played. I'm assuming that he played because, to kind of give Moutinho a rest. But considering, when games do come, they can fast, Moutinho will kind of lose some of his game time possibly.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, something to think about then. All right, I think now we can move on to... unless you had some trades that you want to discuss. Nothing? Yeah?
Nothing really. Yeah, no. I've been super quiet in terms of trades and stuff in my leagues.
So you're not going to trade away Cristiano Ronaldo?
No, I've decided to keep him for now.
That's funny because I told you secretly when you first got him, Ross, I think you should keep him.
I did. You're right. And I was going to be iffy on it, but then Ziyech showed up on the waiver wire. So I was like, okay, I can manage I have Ziyech and Christian Pulisic, so I can manage my midfielders through that at the moment, right? So
that's pretty sweet. What? How did Ziyech end up on waivers? That's crazy to me.
I don't know. All I know, he's in my team now. So.
All right. So now I think what we'll do is move on to the Twitter questions. Ross, you want to kick us off?
Yeah. First question is actually addressed to me by Robbie P. I'd be interested to hear Ross's opinion on the rotation we're seeing at Liverpool now the European and domestic cups have started. Konate to displace Matip. I think all of us should be saying sorry to Jurgen Klopp and the coaching staff at Liverpool and we haven't signed anyone and the only player we've signed is Konate and we don't have any any sort of depth or attacking depth, and which is true. We did definitely need an attacking player, but Origi's playing really well. There's still that upside of him in that 18-19 season where he would kind of come off the bench and just kind of wreak havoc, right? We saw a good glimpse of what Minamino can do. It's just a matter of him replicating it consistently in the league as well, especially when Salah and Mane are going to be gone for the AFCON, right? So I'm really happy with kind of what our depth is showing. Even I think our main thing, the Milan game, was when we had 5 substitutions, 5 kind of changes to the lineup, and we still played probably the best football I've seen them play. We go forward to the Crystal Palace game where we made 6 more substitutions. Konate comes in, Tsimikas is playing, Milner is playing, all these kind of changes to the team, and we still kind of maintain that same level of attacking football, defensive at the back sort of stuff. The only thing is that we want to make sure that in the league at least keep a kind of consistent duo at the back, right? So that's the only reason why I think Konate might not displace Matip kind of permanently, because I think Van Dijk and Matip are our best duo, and I want to see them more regularly play in the Premier League, where in the other leagues or in the other cups, in the Champions League, in the domestic cups, we can kind of, play Van Dijk and Gomez, Matip and Gomez, Konate and Van Dijk. Right? We can kind of mix up with these things. But we just saw this past week, the last 3 games, on how much Liverpool can kind of change up their squad and still be able to kind of play the same level of football. And I'm really happy about that. And I know fans at one point were just before, as the transfer window closed, were really disappointed with what was going to happen and what would happen when, Salah would be gone after AFCON and Mane would be gone after AFCON, which is still a big concern at the moment because I don't know if Origi and Minamino are up there yet, but it's still great to see that when Origi is especially playing the 2 games that he has played, and even when he came off against Crystal Palace, from what I heard was that he's a lot more hungrier for the ball, a lot more, a lot better than what we saw last season or last season and a half. So I'm really happy with kind of the rotation that's kind of happening. In terms of a fantasy perspective, Liverpool's backline was the one you'd always be like, yeah, you've got Trent, you've got Van Dijk, you've got Alisson, and you've got Robbo. Maybe the second center back would be the one you'd be like, oh, I don't know, that'd be kind of iffy. But now we're seeing that there's more rotation. Robbo, who played 38 games last season or something, is now barring injuries. Last game, he was like, hey, Robbo, you need a rest. Same with Trent was sick. That's fine. But now knowing that Milner put in an absolute shift at right back, right? Van Dijk is also not replaceable. He's definitely not replaceable, but you can, against lower opposition, you can be a bit more comfortable in giving him that rest. And that's something we haven't seen since, I don't know if we've seen that before. So that's really happy. Midfield of Liverpool's always been up in the air, right? Who starts, who doesn't start. It's just a matter of who's fit and who's on form. And same with the forward line. Salah and Mane will start. Jota will probably also start. But knowing that Origi and Taki, Minamino can are playing pretty well. So let's see kind of what happens. So as the kind of games become faster and thicker, and when AFCON kind of rolls around, what really happens, and especially more injuries as well. So yeah,
Mane and Salah going for AFCON could be quite pivotal in the title race this season.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully we have plans to put a stopgap in terms of signing loan players or something. I've heard we're kind of interested in Jared Bowen and stuff. So let's see kind of what happens, right? So
yeah, and I don't know if Robbie is interested to hear my opinion as well, but RE Matip and VVD, if it ain't broke, why fix it?
Exactly. I think that's our best duo. They've got great off-pitch and on-pitch chemistry, and that's kind of what you need from your center backs. This is something that I noticed is in the last 2 games, especially against the Milan game, Joe Gomez isn't doing that great of a job in kind of keeping that that offside trap that high line that Liverpool kind of play, right? So he's been playing on both players. I think for the Rebic goal, he played Rebic on, which kind of which kind of sucks, right? So those things will kind of come with time, but in the league, which should always be kind of our main kind of competition to kind of go for, I think we should do Matip and VVD.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for your question, Robbie. Let's go on to the next one.
So Shirag _ Verma has asked, is Reece James a hold? Thoughts on Lookman after last game week? Is he a starter now? Is Willock droppable?
Okay, so the first one, you never ever drop Reece James.
No.
It should be a crime. There should be a penalty for dropping him.
Yeah.
Just be patient. You just got to expect that Tuchel is going to rotate all the Chelsea assets. So just kind of take the pain. Just make sure you have some sort of a backup defender to use. And I'm sure there's a bunch of free defenders in your league that you can kind of pick up just for that game week. So yeah, definitely a hold.
And these managers don't take into context that people play fantasy sports, right? They're going to do what's best for their team. I don't think Reece James is a tier 1 defender like Robbo and Shaw and Trent are. So he's going up there, but I don't think he's there yet. So I don't think Reece James is this guy is my main defender. So
see, it's interesting though. I think Reece can potentially match the total points for another tier 1 defender at the end of the season, but typically you want a defender that plays close to the 38 game mark, right?
Exactly. Barring any injuries, right? So that's kind of what the end. Like I feel like Tuchel has a good depth with Chalobah, also possibly, or Callum Hudson-Odoi, and him kind of playing on that fullback.
Yeah.
We know Aspie can kind of play, and with Chalobah kind of coming into that third centre back role too. So it's kind of good to see.
Yeah, for example, Reece played the right centre back role today, and Shaw played the right wing back role. So yeah. Okay, next part of that was thoughts on Lookman. So he got 7 points coming off the bench, I think, and he scored the goal for the cup game. So I feel like Lookman should be kind of considered. Though Kelechi also scored today, and Kelechi ain't getting no time, bro.
Yeah, but like that's kind of what you like. You know, do I go pick up Taki Minamino because he scored 2 goals against Norwich? No, like these are cup games. You rotate because they're cup games, right? Because you go up against easier opposition. So off the bench is off the bench.
So you telling me not to spend 100 fab on Lookman?
I mean, if you haven't already. Off the bench numbers are you always take them with big grains of salt because you go up against tired legs, especially like wingers and especially players who kind of like are fast and quick, right? You're obviously going to be a lot faster. You're obviously going to be able to kind of like, you know, create chances, make dribbles, all of these things. Remember when Hazard used to kind of come off the bench and get like 12, 13 points off the bench, and then when he actually started, he would get like 5, 6 points because he's going up against pressure players.
Yeah.
So always take that with grain of salt. So
I mean, if you have auto subs, then pick up Lookman and put him on your bench.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then like, why?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, man, come on, you know? All right, the last part of Chirag's question, is Willock droppable? I'll let you go first.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Newcastle seems like if kind of what you were saying, like Crystal Palace are playing better football, that you want to change that kind of our predictions on like who's going down. Newcastle would be that team that kind of like takes their spot at the moment. They have the highest goals conceded and the highest goals, like expected goals conceded as well. Right?
I think from the image I sent the group before. Yeah. You're right. Yeah, spot on.
So defense is pretty bad, and obviously Willock's points aren't dependent on that much. But like if you're always kind of conceding, how many times do you actually get a chance to contribute to goals? So I don't know. It's a weird one.
Yeah, because if I look at if I remember his average positioning for a lot of the games recently, it just feels like he's staying in that central defensive midfield or center midfield spot. He isn't going forward as much, right? I mean, Joelinton is playing further forward, and he's not even playing as the striker. They have ASM as a striker, exactly. Joelinton on the right side or something like that, and maybe Almiron is the other midfielder that kind of joins the attack, and they let Sean Longstaff and Willock kind of scrap it out in the middle to win the ball back. Because like when Willock got a bunch of points against, I think it was United, like half of them were just from tackles won. Right?
So not necessarily attacking points, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like you should be able to drop him and maybe just kind of time it when he goes on like a goal scoring streak or something like that.
Yeah. And the other side of that I was thinking is that they went up against Leeds last game week, and Leeds has one of the second highest goals conceded and one of the second highest expected goals conceded, and you still didn't see that attacking threat. So yeah, like, you know, Willock came in at a time where many players were tired, and he was going up against tired teams, and he was pretty fresh because he hadn't really played for half a season, right? I don't know if I said this or if I thought this exact same point. So maybe that's kind of why we saw that resurgence of form when he had that loan move to Newcastle. So yeah. I think he'll come good. Maybe if he's on your team now and you do have a midfielder to spare, then I think, yeah, he's droppable in that moment.
Yeah, I'd agree. All right, thank you for your question, Chirag. And let's move on to the final one.
Should we be worried about, I'm assuming they mean Leon Bailey's injuries?
Yeah. Not the alcoholic drink.
Yeah. Or I didn't see the E for a moment, so I was like, Eric Bailly?
Are you drafting Eric Bailly? I feel like you should draft Phil Jones first, bro. He was on the bench tonight for Manchester United.
Yeah, but should we be worried about Bailey's injuries?
Yeah, I think so, because we talked about like adjusting to the pace of the Premier League, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not the first time that he's kind of picked up an injury after good showing, good performance, even like getting ghost points in previous games. Listen, he looks a hell of an asset once he actually gets adjusted, though.
Exactly. I think he looks really, really good. It's just that, maybe it's just fitness issues too, right? A bit of a faster paced league than the German one.
And I would love if they changed him from a forward to a midfielder as well. Like, he would definitely be somebody. What's up?
We have that rule in our league, you know that, right?
Oh, yeah, if they play a particular position a certain number of times, you can kind of like ask for it to be adjusted, right?
Kind of, right? So, like, 5 game weeks in, we have this rule where if there's not just consensus, but if there's a general trend of a player playing a certain level position, you can advocate on like, hey, can you make this player this position? So, for example, in our league right now, nothing wants to change Ben Rama to a mid instead of a forward because he's playing center attacking mid, right? He's not playing the winger role. He's not playing a striker role. So it kind of makes in this sense, right? He seems to be a nailed on spot right there. And even when Antonio was out, Vlasic came in at that forward role and not Ben Rama. So we have this rule. So if your team wants to play with that rule and Leon Bailey can switch into a midfielder, then like more the merrier.
Yeah, and again, because we have such limited picks for midfielders this season, it would be a bit of a gem if he actually maintains his fitness. All right, Draftash, thank you so much for your question. Really enjoyed answering those. But now I think is a perfect time for a halftime pint. Ross, we'll take a break and be back in the second half.
Sounds good.
All right, see you in a bit.
All right.
And we are back. So before we get started on the Premier injury list stuff, I just want to give a quick shout out to FF Genie. I know he's a bit under the weather, so to speak. You guys give him a shout, send him some positivity, send him some love. He does a lot of great work for this community, especially stuff like the IJ League, etc. So, mate, just giving you a shout out. Hope you're doing well. We love you, you know. All right, so let's get started with the injury list. And don't forget, the information that we get is a compilation of the news from Ben Dinnery on his Premier Injuries website. Ben Dinnery, you are the injury guru. Big ups to you. And we also take some of the updates from the Fantrax website because they're fairly regular and very up to date. Like, they had updates from today's cup games as well, which kind of helped us out. So yeah, starting us off with Arsenal. So Xhaka could be available for the weekend after completing his suspension. And Tierney apparently was cramping up during his last game. Would you be worried as a Tierney owner?
I looked into it. I thought, I saw that he was cramping up and he wasn't played during the cup game, right? But he was going to be rested anyways. So that's like today he was going to be rested anyways from what I saw on like the Arsenal subreddit. So I'm hoping it's just like, hey, Tierney, you deserve a rest, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to Aston Villa. McGinn suffered a concussion in the last game. He apparently got 2 whacks to the head. After the first one, they tried to check on him. He was like, it's okay, I'll play. Got the second whack. He was like, yeah, all right, guys. I think maybe I should come off, which was good to see, right? They're actually dealing with these things and taking it a lot more seriously, even the players.
Yep.
So we talked about Bailey in the question segment. He came off with an injury. He had a tight thigh after he got, I think, a goal and assist, basically. Matty Cash, he played in the cup. There was a little bit of an injury worry with him, so I think he's okay. But Target came off early in that game versus Chelsea. Apparently, there's an adductor issue. So one thing is they're playing Manchester United as well coming up, right, this weekend. Tuanzebe is on loan, I believe. So they might be a little stricken for defenders. How are you feeling about Aston Villa, given the changes in system? Do you think maybe they revert to that back four now with Tuanzebe out?
Yeah, I don't know, because even today they played with a back three. They played a back two today.
I should know this, shouldn't I? Hold on.
But like Ashley Young was playing. Ashley Young was playing and Matty Cash was playing for them, which is good. Konza played, who scored a pretty good penalty for them. So
there was it's showing a back
like,
four on Flash score. So I'm assuming it was a back four. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Black four?
Yeah, I said black four.
Is that what you said?
I know. I apologize sincerely. But yeah, so I don't know. I think like you'd be okay to kind of still hold Target in a sense because his points did improve somewhat, right? And do you want to really pick up Ashley Young instead, who missed his penalty today, by the way?
Yeah, like he played. I guess he got subbed off. So like against the Everton game, he got subbed off at 61st minute. So that means his clean sheet kind of locked in, right? So he had 14.25 points at the end of the day, and he had four key chances.
Yeah, when we went through the data dump, he was on the what is it? The accurate crosses into the box. 3 accurate crosses into the box.
Yeah. So again, like I think Matt Target is a hold because there's a lot of like, set piece potential as well. So
okay. So Brentford, there's no real news from them. From Brighton, Webster has a thigh issue, possibly an option after the international break. Bissouma, there was an update yesterday. So apparently he recovered quite well from like a knee issue, and he should be able to train by the end of this week and should be available for Crystal Palace. Though, like, I'm not sure if you'd want him as an asset unless you're keeping an open spot and you kind of need a player like for that final day. I'm assuming you could probably go pick up Welbeck or Maupay or somebody like that instead, right? So McAllister had a doubt before this game, and he played the cup game today, but he got subbed off in the 69th minute. So maybe that's a bit of a watch and see. Lamptey got a start. Dan Burn got a start as well. Lamptey, however, only played 45 minutes, and Pascal Gross, who was missing for COVID before that, came on for Lamptey. So, Pascal's back in contention, especially if McAllister is out with that injury.
Yeah.
So moving on to Burnley, Brownhill apparently has a dead leg, but he should be okay. Moving on to Chelsea. So Pulisic apparently is making good progress from his injury. He didn't make the Aston Villa game, so it's kind of a watch and see. For Mendy, the goalkeeper, or Mondi, it depends which stream you're watching, I guess. He didn't play in the cup game again, and he's kind of training to be ready for this weekend. So, Ross, I saw a few managers drop Mendy as an asset in their leagues. Would you be doing this if you owned Mendy, or would you try and grab another keeper instead?
So I'll give you the exact example. The manager I went up against this last week had Monty, but didn't drop him for Kepa. Lost by 13 points. Kepa had 13.25 points. Ooh. So he would have won.
Wow.
By 0.25, by 1.25. In this scenario, I would.
Yeah.
Right? So it seems as if he's out for at least a couple of weeks, right? At least a couple more weeks.
Maybe it's a watch and see, but yeah, let's assume the worst. Right? Let's assume worst case scenario.
So that means, is someone gonna be able to kind of pick him up and just have a dead, like, a non-playing goalie in their bench? I don't know if a goalie's kind of worth that much, unless you're Debs, who loves picking up goalies.
So, we love you, Debs.
But other than that, like, would you then like kind of come at the start of this game week when you see Mendy not starting, you would drop him again?
Yeah.
If you did pick him up, right? What's the point of keeping like a dead goalie, or not a dead goalie? Why do I keep saying that? A non-playing goalkeeper on your squad.
Yeah. It's a bit of a tough decision. I would definitely hold Mendy though, I think, because I don't know. It's just the clean sheets pull, man. He's such a clean sheet magnet, right? And it's not like we're completely tight at the back. We're still letting shots in. So he's still getting like at least maybe 2 to 3 saves, I want to say, per game. But at the same time, to your point, I feel like it's also possible to stream goalkeepers every game week.
Yeah. In this scenario where you could have actually won had you dropped Mendy and picked up Kepa, would you have done it?
Yeah.
You're down by X number of points and you need this. Would you do it?
I mean, I dropped Christensen for Thiago Silva and it got me a win like a few game weeks ago, right?
So yeah.
I think like the one thing to kind of learn about Fantrax is don't get emotionally attached to players. Like for sure you have like a core group of maybe 5 to 6, maybe 7 to 8 players that you cannot drop regardless of what happens. But the others is just assume that you can kind of just, waiver people in, free agent pickups, etc. And maybe they might come back to you, a few game weeks down the road.
Yeah. Or maybe they don't, but kind of go with their gut, right? See, yes, you want to, in this scenario, the manager that I was also kind of going up against is now 1-4. And they would have been 2-3 instead. And now they're at the bottom of the table.
Yeah.
So, also things to kind of consider, right? Like, if you haven't won a game in a while, this would possibly get you that win.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so moving on to Crystal Palace. Essie, there's an update from him. So, still, we know it's a long-term injury, but his situation is improving. He's going to start working outside very soon. So, positive news. If you have an IR spot, do you think now is the time to be picking up Essie?
No, not yet. I think it's going to be much longer than... He also said in an interview that he doesn't want to rush anything. He wants to take his time. He's a young player. He doesn't want to, be bogged up in the same injury for for his entire career. So not yet. Not unless there's concrete news from the thing saying that he's back in first team training or something like that.
Okay, sounds good. Moving on to Everton, Richarlison, Pickford, Coleman and DCL are probably going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks. That's got to hurt their chances of winning games now, right?
Just 0-0 draws, the Rafa style.
And apparently also Dean and Gomes picked up calf issues during their cup game as well. So things could get quite sticky for Everton moving forward. Like, what are you doing if you don't have an IR spot and you've got the likes of DCL and Luka Dean? And look, Luka Dean has not even performed like the type of asset we've known him to be. Right?
Exactly. He had an assist this game, in the cup game, but hasn't been.
He scored a goal actually in the cup game.
Oh yeah, there you go. So,
but the thing is though, Townsend started to take corners now as well. So Luka Dean is kind of losing that ghosty avenue now. So do you think now is a good time to possibly do some trades before managers catch on? Newbie managers. It's
kind of, if you put it like that, it's kind of a dick move.
It is kind of a dick move. I mean, unless you listen to our podcast and and you talk to us, well, we ain't gonna help your ass. But I mean, it's because Luka Dean went in the second or third round, maybe, right? Fourth round if you possibly get him.
Yeah, based off past numbers, he's definitely tier 1, if not close to tier 1.
Yeah.
Right. So. I don't know, man. I feel like he'll come through, new manager and everything. I'm more concerned about, DCL. That's the main, he's been out since, the international break. With no kind of, what is actually happening. Why is he kind of, in and out of injury and stuff. So, that's my main concern is that what our DCL owners are kind of doing. Is this a recurring problem? Is this going to kind of he plays 2 or 3 games and then is out for the 4th game or something? So,
yeah, we really hope you have an IR spot, DCL owners. Moving on to Leeds though. They've got a bunch of injuries, man. Struijk is still suspended until October 2nd. Bamford has an ankle injury. There's a chance he might not even make it for the weekend. Llorente, Koch, and Ayling all have injuries. Ayling probably the closest one to making that game, but still, it doesn't look that great. Rafinha apparently has a hip issue, has a better chance, probably the best chance of the full list that we're going through to make that weekend game versus West Ham. And Harrison has COVID. Leeds are absolutely fucked at the moment, mate.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Harrison comes back a lot sooner, and they have Dan James and Harrison that can kind of that. You're right. Like I think it's their defense is the big issue.
Yeah.
No Ailing, no Lorente, no Koch. It's their defense is like crying right now.
Yeah. So they basically have to possibly move Dallas into like centre back if Ailing doesn't make it back.
Yes, Dallas and
It would be
what is
Cooper,
it?
right?
Yeah, Dallas and Cooper, or maybe put like Calvin Phillips as center back or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they play a back three, then Calvin Phillips can sit in the middle of that. We've seen that happen, and like the stats when we looked at them last season, etc. Yeah, that is a shit show. I mean, good time to be having Antonio, right? Coming back for this fixture. Antonio's just gonna bully the fuck out of these guys, man.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not playing against Antonio this week.
All right, moving on to Leicester. Really, nothing negative, just positive news. Johnny Evans made 90 minutes in the cup. Possibly a fit again option. We saw when he came off the bench, he got like 4.25 points in ghosties. Would you be trying to pick up Johnny Evans right now?
I did. I have him.
Good job.
I had him before when he played like the 45 minutes in the Europa game. So I was like, you know what? He's a proven defender. He's a proven center back. Goal scorer as well. So
yeah, great points. Okay, moving on to Liverpool. So, Bobby Firmino, there's positive news on him, Russ. Do you want to touch on this?
Yeah, what I've read is he's back in some sort of team training. I think the Norwich Cup game kind of came too soon for him, considering we have like 3 games kind of coming up, right? So, league game, Europa, like Champions League game, and then league game again. So, hopefully it's not a matter like, okay, can we get him to at least 2 of those games, right? So no rushing. We still seem kind of what I talked about. That attacking depth is kind of there. So I'm not too super worried. We can still see the Jota, Mane, Salah kind of front 3 at the moment, or even Divock Origi. So yeah.
So do you think Bobby is possibly being prepared maybe for your tougher games like against Man City and the Champions League?
Like when you need that press and when you need that energy and kind of be able to kind of break down teams, right? I feel like a game like Atletico Madrid, you'd really want Bobby fit.
Yeah, and I mean, Bobby is a different style player than Jota, right? Bobby plays for Bobby plays for Salah and Mane, whereas Jota plays with Salah and Mane, right? It's a big difference.
Exactly. There's a big difference, right? His press is different. His ability to find passes in between kind of the gaps in a team that's as structured as Atletico Madrid. And that's kind of the example that I'm kind of going off where we're playing in the, 4 weeks, I think. Our next game against Porto, and then the one after that is Atletico. So, yeah, I think you want to save him for those tougher games, for those games where you need, 90 minutes of, just press and press and press.
Yeah, and TAA, so he missed out due to illness. Apparently no COVID symptoms. What's the latest that you've heard?
The latest I've heard is that it's hopeful that he might be back for the game against Brentford. What I read was that in the morning he just felt a bit sick, just kind of stomach sick. So he they're like, okay, cool, you won't play. They did the test that there is no COVID, but you would have to still kind of
why risk it?
Yeah, why risk it, right? So hopefully he's back for the Brentford game.
Okay, and Thiago, I thought he had a pretty good game versus Crystal Palace, but unfortunately he got subbed a bit earlier than expected due to a calf issue. What's the latest you've heard?
Same thing. Yeah, they're hopeful that it's not something super serious, but they still kind of he's not going to play the weekend. That's pretty sure.
Yeah. And Nabi Keita, who scored a hell of a screamer off the bench versus Crystal Palace, played against Norwich in the cup game, but picked up another injury.
Yeah. Again, what I've heard is it's hopeful news. It's not super news because he got injured at the half. So, he did play kind of with the injury for a bit as well until he wasn't able to kind of continue anymore. So my guess is that they're hopeful. It's just precaution, do the scan, we have the midfield depth to kind of rest these players, and the games are going to come thick and fast right now. So don't want to overplay anyone at the moment.
Okay, so moving on to Manchester City then. John Stones, we've got an update on his injury. He's possibly out for another week or two, apparently, according to the Telegraph. So what are you doing as an owner? You dropping?
Well, if I'm dropping, then Ryo's picking him up. So I'm not dropping. Screw you, Ryan.
And I mean, same thing with Laporte as well, right? He's also going to possibly be out until the international break. Would you say to hold him as well then?
Yes. Just because.
Why the hesitation?
The hesitation is that, okay, like, you pick up these players considering they're going to be a good staple on your back line in your defense, right? But they're not playing right now. But you're going to drop them, someone's going to pick them up, and they're going to pick them up immediately, and they're going to reap all the rewards. So unless there is a really good option off the bench, the likes of Tarek Lamptey, not off the bench, in the waiver pool, likes of Johnny Evans, likes of Tarek Lamptey, then maybe you can kind of go for it. But I have Tarek Lamptey and Johnny Evans, so I'm not dropping John Stones because I won't have anyone to pick up.
Yeah, that's fair. So, I mean, this kind of brings me to an interesting question. So, we know John Stones and Laporte, those are the sort of players where they're not going to get you, well, most likely they probably won't get double digits unless they get the clean sheet, right? You even look at the likes of Kyle Walker. He only gets 10 to 12 points when he gets the clean sheet, which means his ghosties are let's say 3 to 6 points or something like that. Mm-hmm, Do you think maybe in this case you drop Laporte and pick up a performing fullback like Charlie Taylor at the moment? Even though he's conceding a bunch of goals, he's still getting good ghost points with his accurate crosses into the box and key passes, etc.
I guess if you kind of put it like that, these players, especially the Man City defenders, have becoming a bit more clean sheet and goal dependent in terms of points. But that clean sheet is kind of almost a nailed on, right? They've also only conceded 1 goal, right? Yeah. And that was against a Sun Spurs goal, which was a very unlucky goal to concede, right?
Yeah.
So
I guess then just drop them given the whole Mendy situation that we talked about, right? If you need to win your game week and you need a player to start sort of thing, then you drop him?
Then you kind of drop him, right? You need points, right? So for example, when I was going up against Soraya and I know I was going to get thrashed and I was thinking about dropping Stones, I was like, if I drop him, I'm not going to be able to kind of pick up someone who's going to get me that win, right? I lost by 70 points. So I'm like, I'll keep him, right?
Okay, that's fair. Okay, and to kind of round things off at Man City, Rodri, Zinchenko, and Gundogan all have knocks, so just keep an eye on that, right? So, Manchester United, positive news on Rashford, possibly back after the international break, right? So, if you drafted him really late in your leagues, you did a really good job. Newcastle now. Dubravka, pictured in training. Really happy to hear this news after his recovery. His foot got infected and all kind of craziness like that. So really happy to hear that for him. Callum Wilson, there was an update on September the 16th. Apparently his recovery is going well. But, the weekend game will probably come too soon for him. And I think even they were trying to look at the possibility of him playing against Leeds, but again, it would have been too soon. So I'm going to say closer to international break on the, the nearest side, as in before the international break starts, that he could probably be on the bench sort of thing, right? So don't be dropping this guy because he's a proven EPL goal scorer.
I dropped him.
I heard that. Ryan messaged me immediately. He's like, yo, Ross dropped Callum Wilson. How are you going to drop Callum Wilson but not drop John Stones?
Cristiano Ronaldo, Mason Greenwood, Raul Jimenez, and Riyad Mahrez. Those are my 4 forwards. I'm okay with those 4 forwards, to be honest.
I think you could have traded them out. You probably would have gotten a good deal.
I could have. You're right. You're absolutely right. But it seems like it's one of those injuries that might kind of linger for him if he doesn't get the proper rehab.
I mean, it's been happening almost every season now.
So... yeah, I dropped him, but no one else has picked him up. So if Ryan really wants him, he should go pick him up instead of messaging you being like, yo, Ross dropped Callum Wilson. So.
Or you should pick him up and trade him to Ryan right now. Just do it right now. All right. So moving on to Norwich, the only relevant update I found was Cantwell missed the game due to personal reasons. Hope he's doing okay. Moving on to Southampton. Stuart Armstrong. So I know early in the season we were getting questions about Stu and if he's going to be an option. The latest update was apparently there's a bit of blood still in his calf, so it'll take a few more days to clear. When you hear that, that's never a good sign. So just don't consider him as an asset, I think, at the moment. Ross?
Yeah. Like that sucks. That sucks for Stuart Armstrong, but you're right. It's a bit. You just want to be careful in that scenario, right? Hopefully, it gets back stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Jack Stevens apparently could be out for 10 to 12 weeks. A bit of a long-term injury. The tendon on the knee got disrupted. So enter Salisu, enter Bednarak. They did really well against Man City. They have been putting up really good ghost points, especially Salisu, who got his first goal for the club during the midweek games. Yeah, possible options against a toothless Wolves at the moment. Moving on to Spurs. So a couple notes on Bergwijn and Mora, both with ankle injuries. I think Bergwijn is probably closer to making, like, there was like a return date actually associated with Bergwijn, whereas Mora, they just had like no return date at the moment. So both of these players being out and Son kind of being fit, I think, like, okay, so, I mentioned, I dropped Mora for Henderson. Do you think it's safe to drop either Mora or Bergwijn at the moment?
Yeah, because, like, now they've got Brian Gill.
Yeah, he looked pretty decent against us when he came off the bench. I know Fantrax-wise he didn't score anything, but...
Yeah, so something kind of look out that, like, they've got options. And, like, Dele Alli can kind of also play on the wing, but hopefully he sticks in that midfield because I think that's where he's most effective, so...
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah. Okay, so moving on to Watford. So, Femenia apparently came off, like, he got subbed early during the game versus Norwich. He got an assist that game with a wicked cross for Dennis. So, apparently he did not have a reoccurrence of the injury that has kept him out since April, and he should return to training this week. I've heard that when Femenia plays, Sarr plays a lot better. Like, those guys have great chemistry. So, with Femenia possibly getting, like, maybe some set pieces and his ability to put the ball in, would you risk picking up a Watford defender at all?
They don't have the worst schedule coming up. Newcastle up next.
Next two fixtures for sure is super easy, but then it gets a little tough after that.
Yeah, so next two fixtures is like if you're hoping for John Stones to come back in that meantime, Femenia can kind of fill in that gap.
Femenia got 3 key passes and 1 accurate cross into the box, which kind of includes that's part of the assist and everything. So, possibly an option for that John Stones replacement. And just to note, João Pedro is in full training with the squad. The Norwich game came a bit too soon for him, but would you be worried as a Josh King or Dennis owner?
I don't know. I actually don't know. Like, it's one of those things where I don't know if Watford knows what their best starting 3 are.
Agreed.
Obviously, Starr is up there.
Yeah.
Dennis is up there at the moment, but Josh King looks really good as well.
Got 90 minutes finally.
Yeah. And, like, when he's come off the bench, he's looked really well, too. But you've got all these moving pieces with, like, you have a billion forwards. And these billion forwards, they just come to your club to be on the bench or just to kind of, like, train and not get any playtime. So, I don't know. It's, like, apart from Sarr, you play... I don't know if Josh King and Dennis are, like, your mainstays anyways. Like, you picked them up at the Sarr season. They're giving good returns. And now you can, like, be okay with kind of dropping them if need be.
Yeah.
Right? There are enough there might be enough forward options for you to kind of consider.
Yeah, agreed. So. Yeah. Okay, so finally with Wolves, I think Aitnuri might have picked up a little bit of an issue in this cup game midweek because Semedo came on for him. But yeah, other than that, those long-term injuries like Johnny and Neto are still long-term. All right. Ross, I think now we can move on to the FA/waiver picks. Okay, so... Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say first game is Chelsea versus Man City.
Well, I mean, Manchester United versus Aston Villa is at the same time.
Oh, I see that color coordination.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I added fancy colors to our sheet now. But
yeah.
from what I heard, apparently there's a concert at Old Trafford or something later that day, so they had to move that game a bit earlier. So, I don't know.
That's so joke.
It was scheduled to be later, but yeah, they moved it up.
Yeah. United got booted from their stadium because of a concert.
Maybe at Old Trafford or somewhere in Manchester, but yeah, let's assume that United got booted. Yeah, that's much funnier. But yeah, let's start things off with Chelsea versus Man City. Ross, I'll take the home games. You can take the away ones. So for Chelsea, the only person I'm gonna suggest is Kepa. If Mendy or Mondi isn't fit for this weekend, that's possibly a great option for a clean sheet. Man City only had one shot on target versus Southampton, and I think that was for their ruled offside goal or whatever from Sterling. So yeah, Kepa 13%. I think it's kind of a maverick pick sort of thing. Ross, what about at Man City?
Nathan Ake. City are still... Laporte's out and Stones is out, so Nathan Ake is that second defender alongside Ruben Diaz. City still has one of the lowest expected goals
conceded
against. Expected goals conceded, right? And have only conceded one goal at the moment, right? So Man City have still a solid back line. Nathan Ake is I kind of expect this game to kind of end 0-0, right? Unless there's one of those, these last few fixtures between City and Chelsea have been super low scoring, right? Gone are the days with City would spank Chelsea 5-0 and Chelsea would win 3-0 on the home fixture, right? So, I think the last few fixtures have been pretty low scoring. It might end in 1-0, 0-0. Nathan Ake would be that only defender. 30% owned only, so...
Yeah,
not the worst idea.
My only concern is that I feel like Lukaku's gonna bully the fuck out of Ake in this game, bro.
But you've got Ruben Diaz, who's gonna do his own bullying as well.
Maybe, yeah. But I just feel like Ake has always been the weakest link of all the centre backs. If Man City's gonna concede, it's through him.
But I think seasons past that might have been the thing. This season he's looked a lot better. Mm-hmm. In that center back role. Maybe it's, you're being paired up against or paired up with a really good center back. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of helping that coaching sort of thing. And with that Lukaku kind of thing, it's really easy to isolate Lukaku. Especially kind of what Liverpool and Liverpool did with him with Matip and Van Dijk on him, right? Just kind of made sure he wasn't really kind of getting anywhere. He was still kind of doing some of the hold up play, but not to the same effectiveness as he does before. I can expect that same sort of kind of game plan when City go up against Chelsea. So that, the 2-against-1, just put both of them on. City will control most of the ball as they do, right? So.
Yeah, and I mean, Ake has goal threat. We know that much.
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, so moving on to the next game that is around that same time, Manchester United versus Aston Villa. The asset that I'm going to suggest is McTominay, 19% owned. He made his comeback versus West Ham. To me, he looked a little off the pace, but he still managed to put up around 7 to 8 ghost points. So I think he is definitely the main central defensive midfielder that United need to have on the pitch if they want to keep clean sheets, etc. And he's going to feed the attacking midfielders and Ronaldo, etc. And we know McTominay likes to take a pop at goal every once in a while, scores an audacious goal every once in a while. So yeah, 19% owned. If you are struggling for midfielder assets, go pick him up.
Yeah. For me, it's Konsa is one of the only picks that's kind of available, 30% owned. It's kind of one of those things where, they'll be doing a lot of defending and you're hoping there are a lot of defenders, might be able to kind of get you some points. I think United are going to clearly win this game, but, Aston Villa put up a really good game against, Everton and, expect them to kind of keep some of that up. There are the likes of, Ashley Young or Matt Targett who might kind of take that left back spot, but do you really want to own Ashley Young? And if Matt Targett's starting, he's 48% owned, but seems like he's injury prone, right? Sometimes he's injured, sometimes he's not injured. So Konsa is kind of one of the only picks that's kind of available. Douglas Luiz is also available, but apart from his Like that one, his last game against Everton where he had like 22, 23 points. His stats before were like 5 points, 3 points, nothing too exciting. So
yeah, that's fair. Okay, next game, Everton versus Norwich. Couple of shouts. Yerry Mina, 10% owned. It's mainly because they're playing Norwich and he's a bit of a goal threat, so it's like a punt, if anything. Like his scoring has kind of been like hit or miss, really. And Begovic, 6% owned. Again, because it's Norwich. Like, Norwich might struggle to score goals and they could probably keep a clean sheet. Begovic, 6% owned. Yeremina, 10% owned.
yeah, mine is kind of the same. Leeds Malou isn't doing that bad in terms of like just points here and there. 7 points, 8 points, nothing too exciting. Definitely one of those like fourth midfielder, fifth midfielder. Now with Cantwell, also possibly out for the game as well, can definitely kind of get himself into the game more and like kind of like, feed his strikers. So
yeah, I think it's a bit of that weight on the lineup because I think Leeds Malou might have missed 1 or 2 games recently as well, and they brought they brought in this Norman guy into central defensive midfield and pushed Billy Gilmore a bit higher up in midfield now. So now Billy G seems to be like similar sort of valuable asset to Leeds Malou, where he's getting like key passes, feeding Pookie, etc., etc. So yeah, I mean, is Billy G under 50 or over 50?
31%.
But when Billy G was playing that central defensive midfield option, like that position, he wasn't scoring anything good, really. So
actually, yeah, his last game against Watford, he had 15 points.
Yeah. So
no goals, no assists.
If Billy G's under 50% own, like, and Leeds Malou doesn't start, yeah, just look at that starting sheet lineup and go pick him up if Norman is starting that defensive midfield role. All right, let's move on to the next game, Leeds versus West Ham. The asset I'm going to suggest, Matthias Cleek, 40% owned. With all the injuries to Leeds right now, I feel like Cleek might be kind of nailed at the moment. If Bamford's fit or Rodrigo's fit, Cleek is going to play that number 10 role, and he's been taking a lot of shots at goal, etc. So I think it's a good midfield option to own at the moment. What about West Ham?
Number 1 right now is Fabianski. I know, Sanji, you don't like recommending goalies, but I think it's a really good like clean sheet opportunity. He had 9 saves against United, conceded 2 goals, but was definitely that Fabianski that we knew from like 3 seasons ago. So hopefully he kind of keeps up that same form. I think Leeds are the team to kind of just pop at goal, but not really threaten the goal. So especially kind of how they're playing this season as well. So I think there's a picture where they had one of the lowest chances created or something, or lowest shots on target or something, like 4 out of the whole kind of thing. So I think there's a lot of clean sheet potential here. My second one is Vlasic, 47% owned. He got his last start, played up top instead of Antonio. I don't think he kind of continues to start, but that's kind of a pick that you kind of see in. If he's starting, you go pick him up, and if he's available, because Leeds have probably one of the worst defenses in the league at the moment.
It's funny that you say that I hate goalies. I'm going to suggest like 3 goalies in all of our pick lists. So I'm going to like contradict myself quite a bit in this episode.
Holy shit, you've already suggested 2 goalies so far. So.
So moving on to the next game, Leicester versus Burnley. Ross, I'm going to suggest your boy Johnny Evans, 13% owned, got 90 minutes in the cup game. We know he's like probably the best central defender for Leicester. Maybe until Vestergaard kind of settles in, because I really rate Vestergaard. But yeah, 13% owned. Burnley aren't really scoring a lot as well, and he will probably have his hands full versus Chris Wood and company. So with a shout if he's on the starting lineup. What about for Burnley, Ross?
Charlie Taylor seems like kind of you suggested. Seems like the player that's been kind of propping up. Conceded 3 goals against Everton and had 8 points. No assists, no goals. Conceded 1 goal against Arsenal, had 7.75 points, right? So at the start, I was like, oh, maybe there aren't any Burnley players. But now kind of looking at his recent numbers, his last 3 games have been 7.25, 8, and 7.75, while conceding 5 goals in those 3 games. So hopefully against Leicester, they might be able to kind of put more of an attacking threat, because Leicester aren't playing their best football at the moment either. So kind of something to watch out for.
Yeah, great shout.
He's 10% owned, Charlie Taylor.
Go pick him up if you can then. All right, next game, Watford versus Newcastle. Couple of assets, Josh King, 14% owned, and Femenia, 2% owned. So yeah, if João Pedro doesn't get the start and Josh King does, I'd definitely go pick him up. He's been putting up some really, really good numbers. He got 2 assists as well in the last game. And Femenia, 3 key passes, 1 accurate cross into the box in his limited minutes. If he is not injured, he gets the start. I think he is the preferred right back, I want to say. So I don't know, just a good defender to kind of have on your roster, you know, if you want to replace John Stones, Ross.
Or have both. Jeez.
Yeah. Have both Femenia and Charlie Taylor.
Yeah. Darlow had 12.5 points with 8 or 9 saves while conceding 2 goals. He's only 3% owned. Matt Ritchie, I feel like Watford versus Newcastle is going to be a lot more even game, 50% possession, equal number of attacking opportunities by both teams. And Matt Ritchie might be one of the players that might be kind of, doing those, assists from halfway line and set pieces. So he's only 49% owned. Also midfielder. So even if Watford scored 2 or 3 goals, Matt Ritchie will still not be kind of affected by those numbers.
Awesome. And the final game on the Saturday is Brentford versus Liverpool. The asset I'm going to suggest is, I hope I'm not butchering this name, but Vitaly Janelt, 8% owned. Putting up some really good ghost points. Just good midfield option to kind of have. I think maybe 5th or possibly 6th midfielder if you have extra spots on your bench sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know what to say. He's just feeding the likes of Tony and Mbeumo, picking up key passes every now and then. He's not doing the defensive work that Norgard does, but he's ticking along and keeping Matthias Jensen out the squad at the moment. What about at Liverpool?
I'm going to kind of suggest their midfielders. I think Fabinho is kind of starting. He's also less than 50% owned, but his points aren't as great in terms of getting 10 points a game as a defensive midfielder as he has done in the past. So I'm not going to suggest him, but Hendo, I feel like he's due a goal, man. He's definitely going to score. He's gotten some really 2-3 big chances in this season so far. I feel like he's going to score soon. He's only 37% owned. He, like you said, his last game, 11 points with a yellow card. So, and my kind of last one is, I think Curtis Jones, if Nabi Keita and Thiago are still out for that game, Curtis Jones is that 3rd midfielder in my opinion. Likes to drive the forward, likes to drive the ball a lot. Looked really good against Norwich, so hopefully it'll kind of follow through, and if he does get the start.
Awesome. So the next game day is the Sunday, and the match is Southampton versus Wolves to start the day. Now, I'm going to list a bunch of assets from Southampton. And that's kind of because I believe their fixtures are possibly going to get better eventually. So, if you look at their next 4, they've got Wolves, they've got Chelsea, they've got Leeds and Burnley. And I think they could probably get some points in at least 3 of those games. So, the assets I'm going to suggest are El Yunusi, 25% owned. Livramento, 25% owned. Redmond, 14% owned. Kyle Walker-Peters, 13% owned. Salisu, 10% owned. And Bednarek, 5% owned. So, if you had to look at all of them together and, kind of rank them, I would probably go for El Yunusi first because, again, lack of midfield options in this game this season. He's been putting up some really good ghost points. I know Redmond got 10 ghosties in the last game, but again, if you look at his history, it's kind of been inconsistent. But the defenders, like, they have had a lot of work to kind of do, right? They've been needing to actually defend. And, I mean, look at them. They kept a clean sheet versus Man City. We know that they're possibly using, like, a wing-back system as well. So the likes of, like, Livermento on the right. They're putting Kyle Walker-Peters on the left. Both, you know, have the potential to get you an attacking return as well. And Bednarek had a beast of a game versus Man City. And if Jack Stevens is out, Salisu is probably going to partner him as well. So I think all of these guys together, keep an eye on them. They're great options to have moving forward as well. What about at Wolves?
I even looked at the last couple of game weeks, and I don't think there's anyone there. I don't think Hwang Hee-chan gets a start at the moment, because I think we're kind of set in the sense of Jimenez, Adama, and Trincao as like your front three, right? So if he starts, he's only 27% owned. He's been putting up decent numbers when he's kind of come off the bench as well. Oh, maybe not. Actually, he only put up 1 point in his 44 minutes against Brentford, but before that he had the goal against Watford where he got 15 points. But he started today as well. And so, like, you know, if he starts, I think he might be a good shout, but I don't see him starting. But other than that, there's not really anyone. If you want a goalkeeper, maybe Jose Sa, but like, other than that,
I dropped Jose Sa. Like, he's not that convincing. Like, I don't think he's that good a goalkeeper. By the way, the players that scored for Wolves in the cup game were Dendoncker. Aït-Nouri got the assist for that, and Podence scored, and Dendoncker got the assist for that. So,
yeah.
always bringing you great accurate information, you know. But yeah, I mean, what is Podence's ownership like at the moment, though?
40%, but I don't think he starts. I honestly don't think he starts.
Unless they switched to back four, but they started with a back five in the cup game, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess these are just kind of things... Yeah, these are kind of watch and sees, because like there's a lot... Like, Willy Bolly is also 12% owned. But does he start? Does he not start? Like, you know, Kilman has kind of gone to the bench, and Willy Bolly, Romain Saiz, and Connor Cody are your, like, back three, right? But... yeah, like it's just a watch and see for me.
Yeah, okay, let's move on to the next game on the Sunday. Arsenal versus Spurs, the North London derby. The assets I'm going to suggest: Ramsdale 23% owned, Gabriel Magalhaes 23% owned. I mean, Spurs did give us a bit of trouble last weekend. But again, they struggle to score. They're like, Kane is basically playing as a midfielder, not as a striker anymore. So like, all their heroics are kind of on Son's shoulders at the moment. And Arsenal are improving, right? They've got Thomas Partey back. They've got Ben White back. They've got a better keeper than Leno at the moment. So, you know, there's the chance that he could get clean sheets in this game. What about at Spurs?
Keep an eye out with like Bergwijn and Moura, because they might possibly be back, but if not, Gil looks pretty good. 19%. He started against Wolves today, I think. Might be a good option if he kind of plays out wing. Other than that, and Ndombele seems to be back in favor with Nuno. Like, you know, at one point he was on his way out, but now not anymore, and has started 2 games already. He's 14% owned, so possibly one to kind of look out for. You know, he does get you those ghost points where he'll kind of, you know, give it his all for 60 minutes and get you like 8-9 points, but then, like, you know, get subbed immediately because he can't play for anymore. So.
All right. And then the final game on the Monday, Crystal Palace versus Brighton. A few assets I'm going to suggest: James McArthur, 42% owned. Michael Elise, 40% owned, and Guaita, 19% owned. So Elise is probably not going to start the next few matches moving forward. I'm just saying pick him up because I feel like he's eventually going to start games for Crystal Palace, like replace the likes of either Jordan Ayew or Christian Benteke. MacArthur, he's been wearing the captain's armband every now and then. He's just putting up good, reliable ghost points at the moment. Until maybe Eze comes back in, I feel like his spot is safe right next to Gallagher. And Guaita just looks solid at the back. And I feel like this is possibly one of those fixtures where he could get a bunch of save points and even get the clean sheet to add. What about at Brighton?
I think I'm going to suggest two of their defenders. Cucurella, 38% owned. Veltman, 34% owned. They're going up against Crystal Palace. Possible clean sheet opportunity. And like Brighton are finally kind of living up to their expected goals conceded.
Yeah, I know.
They look a good squad this season, man.
So you're telling me all they had to do was start Shane Duffy?
I guess so. But like, you know, their defense looks good. There's a possible clean sheet opportunity. Veltman's always a good goal threat moving forward as well. So clean sheet and goal threat, I think, is a good option. He's 34% owned, and Cucurella is 38% owned.
Yeah, I'm surprised both of those assets are under 50%. Both solid, reliable Fantrax assets, I think. All right, and that is the end of our FA waiver picks and all we had planned for the podcast. Ross, before we round things up, I just got a notification from the International Genie League. So apparently they are also doing the same sort of Champions Cup thing in like the DP Community League, where, you know, you get to play against other leagues and other managers. So I just got a notification that apparently the top 8 teams in the overall standing, so there's 120 teams that they put together in like a all together standings, and we made the top 8. And that means we get a first round bye in like the cup, like the, I don't know, cup matchups or whatever. Yeah. So the other 112 members have been put into a randomly generated bracket. No intra-division round 1 matchups. Round 1 begins on game week 7, and the single elimination tournament will run for 7 weeks until the game week 13 final. Winner of the IGL Cup will win 100 fab and $50. Runner-up wins 25 fab.
Nice. I'm assuming these aren't done on Fantrax platforms, right? These are kind of done on the side as well.
Like Excel sheets, yeah. Like
Excel
all the
sheet?
planning is done on Excel sheets, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know why Fantrax, like, so on the FPL there's like the built-in, there's a game week, there's a cup game that starts in game week 20 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or game week 15 or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm happy that there are managers that are wanting to kind of do these sort of things and like, you know, engage the community more and like, you know, make it a bit more interesting, right? Fantrax should be putting these things into their platform, but like it's a very bare bones platform altogether. So
yeah, and a couple of shout outs to a couple other accounts that we know that made the top 8. Draft Lad and Robbie P.
Nice. Liverpool represent.
Yay. All right, Ross, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Winter is coming. I'm in Canada, but like, you know, it's supposed to rain all week this week, so
yeah, I'm so glad I left that country. I do not envy you when it gets cold, bro.
Bro, you're gonna be in London in hopefully soon, so
yeah, I should probably finish packing.
Yeah, you know, just get a lot of vitamin D with you, so because there's gonna be no sunlight there.
Oh my god, I'm gonna turn hella fair, bro. Yeah, all my melanin is gonna go, bro.
Pretty much.
All right. So then, Ross, what I'll do is catch you on the next episode, bro. Always a pleasure recording with you. Peace.